What's up, Every Pony? I'm Nether Dragon, and I'm back for another Ace Attorney Elements of Justice video. I know I'm getting this out late, and I'll say right now, it probably won't be uploaded by 3 because it's a 2-hour video, and it's 11:40 right now. So it'll be uploaded at most earliest probably by rendered and ready to be uploaded by like 2:10. So there's a chance it'll be ready to play by 3, but I mean, I don't think so. So it will be ready this afternoon at some point, is all I can promise. So, without further ado, let's just jump right in. I meant to do this yesterday, but there was issues that arose. Come on, I said I'm not redoing this intro. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Already a poor intro. This happened.
I never thought I'd come back to this world, let alone take on another trial.
Yeah, who is going to be the prosecutor?
I haven't set foot in a courtroom in general for a good while.
No, you haven't. Oh, I mean, technically you have when Apollo defended you.
Yesterday? That was our
but
last
that
case,
was as a defendant, not a
well over a month ago.
A lawyer.
Oh, well, I'm sure there's no need to worry. You were disbarred for 7 years like you said yesterday, but you've still taken on plenty of murder cases before and since, right? You have a lot of experience under your belt. Just because there's been a little bit of a hiatus doesn't mean you'll revert back to being a rookie.
I mean, no, but
I'm pretty sure I felt like one several times throughout my career.
There's nothing wrong with a little refresher, though. Right, Apollo?
Sure. I'm pretty confident Mr. Wright's got this, though. Besides, I'd rather focus on making sure you're up to speed on things.
Hey, come on. I'm not a newbie anymore. I can keep up with everyone else, no sweat.
Athena, there's no shame in being inexperienced. We've all got to start somewhere.
Who's going to be his, like, helper,
So cool.
I wonder.
We're about to watch Daddy defend in court in a whole nother world with cute magical ponies.
Not true, see.
That again. I can't contain my excitement. Well, I'm happy to see that you're all enjoying yourselves. And
like I say, the animation is so much better in this one than it was in the first Turnaround Storm. The voices are actually
is going to be the experience of a lifetime, despite the circumstances. By the way, Twilight, there's something I've been meaning to ask you.
What is it, Apollo?
You mentioned that murder is nearly unheard of in Equestria. The first one to supposedly happen was for the case where Mr. Wright defended Rainbow Dash. How advanced can your criminal laws be if such serious crimes rarely, if ever, occur?
Apparently, they're nearly identical to ours.
Yeah.
I remember Twilight saying something like Equestria's judicial system was inspired by humans.
That's right. I've read many books on both humans and human law. The human legal system has been refined through countless years of study and practice, and yet it is still evolving. That's why equestrian law is practiced very similarly, and what influenced the designs of nearly all of Equestria's courthouses.
Well, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, as they say.
Yeah.
Hey, boss.
What's up, Athena?
I was just wondering. There's gonna
Yeah,
be
co-counsel, that's what I was
for the
wondering.
trial.
That's where I was trying to
I
look
don't
for.
see anyone else who would be up for the task, and we don't have the right badges.
I figured it'd be best to go with Twilight. She was my co-counsel during Rainbow Dash's trial, after all.
But doesn't she need an equestrian attorney's badge to be allowed to stand in court? Nope. Since I'm a princess, I can stand in court without the need of a badge.
Really?
But weren't you just a unicorn during Rainbow Dash's case? How could you be Mr. Wright's co-counsel if you weren't a princess?
I mean, that's a good point.
Well, since I was Princess Celestia's student at the time...
Okay, that, I guess, makes
Phoenix
sense.
had no
I like the
experience in how Equestria
wall
worked.
there.
So we made an appeal to the Equestria High Council to allow me to be there to assist him.
I know you'd love to help out, Athena, but playing it safe for Miss Palmel's sake is our best option. With Twilight by my side, we've got someone who knows the rules of this world like the back of their hand. Hoof.
I gotcha, boss. Oh, speaking of Miss Palmel, she's here.
Hey, Coco.
What's up with Coco all of a sudden? She seemed fine yesterday.
Good morning, Mr. Wright.
Morning, Rarity. What's wrong with Coco?
I'm not sure myself. I saw her being escorted here by the guards with this rather, despondent look upon her face. It pained me to see her looking like that just before her trial, so I thought I'd steal her away from the guards with a little pony charm. I was hoping I could figure out what's been plaguing her mind, but I'm afraid I haven't been able to get a single word out of her.
That's too
This
bad.
place is in some serious trouble if someone genuinely dangerous is ever trusted to guards like those.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, Coco. How are you holding up? Wow, she's really out of it today.
Oh, the poor thing. The trial has her worried sick.
I guess that's understandable. It can't just be that, though, can it?
All right, Miss Pamel, you've got nothing to fear. You're innocent, and Daddy here will prove it. He'll show everyone that you had nothing to do with Overall Concept's murder.
Oh, darling, it's okay. It's okay. I know how much you cared about him.
I'm so sorry. I didn't
Hold
mean
on,
to.
Drucy.
It's fine.
Darling, there's something stuck in your mane.
What
Is that?
It looks like glitter?
Oh, sorry. I haven't had a chance to clean myself since I got arrested.
Oh, Coco! How dare they allow you to stay dirty in detention? Especially in your state? Why, that's horrible!
Rarity, can you give me a second? I need to calm myself down before the trial begins.
Of course, darling. Go lay on that couch over there and mellow out. It'll help, I promise.
Well, you would know.
Yeah.
Rarity, if you'll
She would.
excuse me.
Overall Concept must have been very special to her.
He was. The two always seemed so happy together. If both of their letters to me were any indication, every pony who worked with them thought so too.
It must be hard to lose such a good friend like that. I can't even imagine how she feels.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's something I wouldn't wish on anyone, and it only makes it worse that she's accused of murdering him. But that's exactly why we need to fight for her. It's the only way to get her out of this, and bring her some peace of mind.
You're right, Phoenix.
So, Twilight, do you have any information on who we're up against?
You mean the prosecutor?
Yeah. Any idea who it's gonna be?
I believe it's going to be Princess Celestia's nephew.
She has a nephew?
Does that make him,
Oh
prince?
no. Are they talking
Yes.
about?
And yes. In fact,
Okay, this is gonna
his
be a
name is
very interesting
Prince
trial.
Bloodblood.
Yeah.
That's pompous excuse for a stallion!
Thank you, Rarity. You
Rarity,
explained.
please,
you said it.
inside voice
I didn't
this
want to say it, but you
courthouse.
said it for me.
Oh, right. I'm guessing you're still on bad terms with him then.
Bad terms? Oh, I've never met a stallion whom I've had such high hopes for, only to have them come crashing down! Of course I'm still on bad terms with him. And you're saying that he's the prosecutor?
Rarity, I'm sure he's just doing it for the experience.
But out of all the ponies it could have been, why him? I swear it's Celestia. He better keep that horse's mouth shut about my little Coco. Or I will show him what it truly means to be a royal pain.
Okay, getting hostile. How about you go join Coco on the couch to calm yourself down? She could use your company.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Goodness, I cannot believe how mad that stallion makes me.
Just as dramatic as ever, isn't she?
You don't know the half of it.
That screaming almost rivals your cords of steel, Apollo.
Seriously.
For real. She's about as soft as a marshmallow at first glance, until you anger her and she comes at you with the fire and intensity of 1,000 suns.
So, you're saying that she turned into a roasted marshmallow? about it, it makes me hungry. I wish I had some words with me.
Twilight, what did you mean just now when you said this Prince Blueblood is doing this for experience? What could warrant someone like him prosecuting a case?
Well, he is royalty. Like I said, he's probably using this murder trial as an opportunity to gain some trial experience. After all, if you're ever going to rule a kingdom in Equestria, you're going to need extensive knowledge on the law and how to uphold it. As a matter of fact, I've been studying a lot of law since I became a princess myself.
No kidding. How are you finding it?
Oh, it's been so enjoyable. I can't tell you how amazing it has been, learning about all the laws that are in place.
So it's like an exam then. You study, then the trials you take part in test how much you've learned and what sort of knowledge they're after. Like the one this blue blood guy is taking part in today.
Is it embarrassing if that comparison makes me even more pleased that I'm doing it?
I certainly don't remember my law school experience being so fun.
Yeah.
So, based on the location of your castle, does that mean Ponyville is technically your kingdom?
Technically, I
wouldn't
guess
exactly say
that, yes.
It's just a place where all my friends live, so I figured, why not have the castle there too?
It's
The castle sort
it's
of,
Florida kind of
grew-
grew there. Yeah,
I mean, built itself there.
yeah,
I
you didn't really have any
don't know.
say in it.
Your castle built itself?
Yeah, it's a castle. It's a tree castle map.
I want to know how that's possible.
The tree
a lot
block
has happened in a year and a half
castle.
since you were here last.
Yeah.
You transformed into an alicorn, became a princess, and now you have your own castle that apparently built itself? I thought my life was crazy, but your life really got turned upside down.
Yeah, you have no
Trial's about
idea,
to begin.
Phoenix.
Will the defendant and their attorney please enter the courtroom?
As much as I'd love to talk about what's been happening in Equestria, we have a trial to take on. I hope you're ready, Phoenix.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Let's bring it on and
Good luck,
beat
Mr.
this
Wright.
blue
We'll
blood
be
back
cheering
to
you
where
on
he
from the
came.
gallery. Break a leg, Daddy.
Thanks, everyone. All right. Twilight, let's head inside.
Right behind you, Phoenix.
Court is now in session for the trial of
Hey, the
Coco
judge is
Pony.
back.
Are the
Okay.
prosecution and defense ready?
The prosecution has.
Did they mention that already? I don't remember the last episode.
The defense is ready.
Or maybe
Your
not.
Honor!
Yep, he's back.
Oh, I knew you'd be surprised to see me, Mr. Wright.
New? But. What?
Wait, why is the judge here?
Oh, wow. Hiya, Judge.
Justice, Miss Sykes? Is that you over there?
Don't forget me, Your Honor.
Oh, Miss Wright. It seems as though Mr. Wright spot
Yeah,
the whole
not by
gang of
choice, but
Twilight, what exactly is going on here?
Oh, did I forget to mention that I summoned the judge here again?
yes, you
Yes,
did.
You did.
Sorry. There's just been so much going on. I guess it just slipped my mind. But hey, it is a nice surprise seeing him again, right?
Even the judge is more aware of what's going on here than I am. That's a new low.
Yeah.
So, why did you summon him again? I thought you said Princess Celestia is the one who usually presides as the judge. Was this another decision made by the High Council?
No, I just thought you'd be more comfortable having a familiar figure presiding.
And
Much like
we know how to
before.
play with it.
So,
We know how to work the
I put
judge.
in a request to summon him again, and the court agreed. Besides, your judge loves being in Equestria. He stayed a while after you left last time, you know? Apparently, he really wanted to see the
Doesn't
Somerset
he have a
celebration.
job in
I
our
really
world,
jumped
in
the
the
chance
human
to
world,
come
though?
back.
Oh, that's very thoughtful of you, Twilight. I certainly do feel at home with him sitting up there. And I can't think of a judge more fair than him, if I'm being honest.
More fair? He's not always there for you,
Being
though.
Here again brings back memories. I hope you all have as wonderful a time here as I did, Mr. Wright.
Well, they were kind of dragged along, so they had no choice.
If I may interject, may we cease this chit-chat and get on with the trial already?
Oh, of course. My apologies, Mr. Prince Blueblood, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I am like no other prince in Equestria.
No kidding.
Oh, great. Another prosecutor who looks like they're going to ensure an unpleasant experience.
Yeah,
That
I
being
agree.
said, what are you supposed to be?
Me? What am I supposed to be? My name's Phoenix Wright. I'm Miss Pommel's defense attorney.
Ah, so it is you then. The famous Phoenix Wright, the human lawyer who served as the defense in the TS5 incident?
The TS5 incident? Sounds like our legal system isn't the only human thing ponies imitated.
Yeah.
The trial that took place a year and a half
I like the
ago.
TS5
following
though.
that
Turnabout
unfortunate
Storm
incident near
5.
Ponyville.
He must be talking about Rainbow Dash's trial. I suppose it must have been big news, considering the circumstances.
I must say, it was an impressive victory, especially since you proved that there wasn't even a murder to begin with. Unfortunately for you, your defeat here is guaranteed, as this case could not be more open and shut.
Oh, we'll see
I
about that.
recommend giving up before I bring the same shame and humiliation upon you that I brought upon the rest of the attorneys I have encountered. As a stallion of royal blood, losing to a commoner such as yourself is something I am simply incapable of doing.
Oh, we'll find
Just
we'll
ticking
find
every
out.
box on how
Well,
not
we'll
to make a
see
good
that
first
happen.
impression, aren't you, buddy?
We'll just see there, buddy.
Now, I think it's about time we got on with the trial. Will the prosecution please begin their opening statement?
Of course, Your Honor.
Here we go, Phoenix.
The crime took place in the Bridalway Theater, located in the heart of Manhattan, where the play Hinny of the Hills was being performed. I have a promotional poster for the play here.
Oh, this looks interesting. I'll have to get a ticket to the next show as soon as the trial is over.
Unfortunately, Your Honor, that will be impossible. Due to the obviously unforeseen circumstances, all future showings at Bridalway Theater are on hold. And besides, the show in question was completely sold out 7 hours before the play even started. The last ticket
Wow.
was bought by the defendant around noon of that day. You'll be hard-pressed to find an opportunity to buy a ticket, let alone actually manage to see the play.
Well, that's a shame.
I mean, I'm sure you
I
could
don't
probably get a
suppose
ticket
there are any
early
other
or have
sights in
some
the
cheap
city I
ticket.
can catch while I'm here.
I've heard that there'll be some sort of race here soon. I suppose if you're still here, you could watch that.
I'm not really into watching races like all of the young people are these days. My brother
Well, you said
is,
you wanted
though.
something.
He's been...
If you don't mind, Your Honor, I'd like
Yeah,
us
we're
to get
kind of
back to
getting
the case
out of.
Hoof.
Yeah.
yes, of course.
Back to the
My
case of Hoof, yeah.
apologies. Please continue, Prince Blueblood.
Off topic there.
Thank you, Your Honor. The victim in this case is Overall Concept, who worked as the head costume designer for the theater. Allow me to present his autopsy report for your perusal.
Glitter found 4 hooves. Okay, that sounds
Seems
important.
as though the victim was unconscious at the time of his death. It's at least comforting to know that he didn't suffer.
Indeed, Your Honor.
The victim was unconscious when he died. I'd better remember that detail.
As for the defendant in this case, that would be the victim's assistant, Miss Coco Pommel, who joined
But
the
what would
theater
her
several
motive be,
months
though?
ago. On that fateful night, Miss Pommel and Mr. Concept were in the dressing room working on various costumes as the play was being performed. This is likely how glitter found its way to the victim's forehooves, as stated in the autopsy report. Around 8:50 p.m., Miss Pommel attacked Mr. Concept in the dressing room. Attempting to save himself, Mr. Concept fled, but Miss Pommel gave chase. The victim ran up to the catwalk that runs above the stage, with the unsuspecting actor still performing below. It was on this catwalk where the defendant caught up to the victim and mercilessly attacked him once more, knocking him unconscious with a blow to the back of the head. Wasting no time, she wrapped a noose around the unconscious victim's neck. With the other end of the rope tied to the catwalk's railing, she pushed his body off the edge and hanged him in front of a full house of 5,000 ponies.
But that would have taken a bit of time to do, and again, why
would
you do that?
I wholeheartedly agree, Your Honor.
Hold on a second. This is just pure speculation. What makes you think my client is the killer?
Exactly, Phoenix.
She and the victim were good friends.
And you think the fact that they were friends is enough to let her off the hook? Nonsense. I expected better from you, human.
If your case has as much evidence as your opening statement, it might as well be enough. I expected more than just pure speculation from you, Mr. Blueblood.
Prince Blueblood.
Wow.
And for your information, none of this is, as you say, pure speculation. Not only do I have physical evidence to back up my claims, but there is a decisive witness who saw the whole thing take place.
Probably the actual
That
killer.
witness he's talking about must be Playwright.
Oh, Playwright wouldn't do it.
And allegedly, he saw Coco chasing Overall up to the catwalk.
Did he
Let's hope
actually
doesn't
see
say
it
anything
happen,
too
though?
conclusive before you even get a chance to fight back.
Please call this witness to the stand, Prince Blueblood.
Of
Playwright
course, Your Honor.
saw something happening, but let's see what we can get from testimony.
Witness, state your name and occupation for the record.
The name's Playwright. I'm the director of Broadway Theatre. My job is to make sure that all of my plays are nothing short of
And
masterpieces.
again, it could be him. I don't know.
Your passion for the craft is duly noted, witness. Now, is it true that you saw the defendant chasing the victim 2 nights ago?
Yes, it is. I couldn't stand their loud hoof steps. I was worried that they were going to interrupt my play, you see. This performance was the best one yet.
It truly is a shame that your play was interrupted by such a horrific tragedy. Mr. Playwright, I would like for you to please testify as to what you saw on the night of the murder.
It would be my pleasure.
This is it, Phoenix.
Let's hear what he has to say.
And tear down the testimony to find the truth.
I was in the left wing of the stage, watching my play being performed.
Okay.
Suddenly, I saw Mr. Concept being chased by Miss Pommel up the catwalk. I tried to ignore the disturbance they were causing, but then I saw Mr. Concept hanging right above center stage. I ran up to the catwalk immediately and saw Miss Pommel looking down from where Mr. Concept fell. As much as I hate to believe it, Miss Pommel must have been
That
the
means
one
you
who
didn't actually
killed
see
him.
it happen,
I
though.
can't see anything else that would suggest otherwise.
So you didn't actually see it.
So the defendant really was chasing the victim.
Yes, I have no doubt in my mind.
You might not, but I do. Besides, you can't pronounce Coco Pommel's name properly.
Yeah, you keep saying
He
Pommel.
seems pretty confident.
Don't they all? Anyway, all we need to get the ball rolling is a contradiction in his testimony.
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may
I'm sure
begin
there's a
your
joke somewhere with
cross-examination.
Pommel versus Pommel.
I was in the left wing of the stage, watching my play being performed.
Hold it! What was this play about?
It's about a mare named Hinny. She's an orphan who's determined to find her parents, who she was separated from at birth.
Oh? How'd they get separated?
Not
It's
important.
an incredible tale.
Objection! Do you mind? Some of us are still planning to see this play when the showings resume. How dare you try to spoil it for me?
Okay, now I want to hear more of it.
That is absolutely irrelevant.
And I think it's very
in this
relevant
case.
if it means that
Oh,
you
of
get
course.
spoiled.
My apologies.
Blood.
I just love talking
But yeah,
about
it's
this
not relevant.
story.
Aw, but I wanted to know how it all ends.
So, you said you were watching from the left side of the stage. Didn't the chase happen on the right side, though?
Oh, are you referring to it as the house left wing? In that case, no, I was on the other side.
But you just said you were on the left side.
Phoenix, there's a house left and
Do
a
you
stage
know
left.
anything about the performing arts?
Kinda? I mean, I was in the art department in college.
In this
I,
case, it was the...
Actually wanted to be a
Yeah, I
stage
don't exactly know those terms. I didn't know there's two terms like that.
Trust me, you wouldn't last a day in the business.
Hopefully they explain
I
it
can
so
tell.
I can visualize the house left
Thanks
and
for the
stage
advice
left.
on a career choice I gave up on nearly 15 years ago.
Anyway, since you're obviously on the ignorant side when it comes to stage terminology,
So looking,
let me give
I
you
think
a little
stage means you're looking out from the
They were
stage.
running through the stage left wing, but it's also called the house right wing.
Okay,
You
yeah.
call it stage left if you're looking at the audience from the stage, and you call it house right if you're looking at the stage from the audience. I just tend to go with the stage terms because I'm usually behind the curtains.
So...
Okay, that
Is
went
it
way too fast to
left or right?
understand.
Gah. If it makes it easier for you, I'll go with your version and call it the right side. Does that make you feel better?
Yes, actually.
So looking at the pit diagram, it'd be on the right
Anyway,
side.
Why watch from the side? Wouldn't
Yeah,
directors
that
always
makes
watch
that
from
helps
the
me too.
audience?
You're right. Many directors do tend to watch from the audience, but I like to be up close and personal during a performance. I want to make sure that my performers are at the top of their game.
Are you saying that you aren't confident in your actors to give it their all?
Oh, of course not! My performers are among the best in the business! Or they are now, at least. I just take a few extra precautions to make sure that my plays are absolute perfection.
I see. So, no mistakes at all then?
Not one. Everything went flawlessly up to the second act. We were on track for a perfect performance if it wasn't for what was happening backstage. Suddenly, I saw Mr. Concept being chased by Miss Pommel up the catwalk.
Hold it! You saw Miss Pommel chasing the victim? Weren't you watching the stage for any potential screw-ups from your actors?
Well, I had no choice but to look. Their obnoxiously loud hoof steps were
I
distracting
mean,
me
yeah,
from
I guess
watching my
that's a
play.
good point.
It made me want to find whoever it was and scream at them, but it was during the show, so I had to keep quiet. I did complain to my stage manager, though. He was standing right next to me during both acts of the play.
His stage manager was with him. I suppose that gives him a solid alibi then. Were there any breaks during the play?
Yes, one. A 15-minute intermission between acts 1 and 2.
And what were you doing during that time?
Overseeing the stage hooves work. They had a lot to do to get ready for the
Stage
second
hooves,
act,
huh?
you see.
What did this work entail?
I mean, I get where they're going with
they
that
had
word
to
there, but
completely clear the stage
stagehand,
of all the props,
guess,
as well
those
as any
words
debris
there,
that would cause
kind of.
problems for the actors on stage, mainly tripping hazards.
What time was all of this happening?
The intermission started at around 8 o'clock and it ended at 8:15. The second act would have run from then until 9 o'clock if Overall hadn't been murdered.
Did you see Overall at all during the intermission?
Actually, I did. He came on stage briefly to discuss something with
what
me.
did he talk to you about?
And then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
What did you two talk about?
That's a private matter. It has nothing to do with this case.
I think it
assure you.
does.
You're not the one who gets to make that judgment, Mr. Playwright. Tell us what he wanted to talk to you about. Remember, you're under oath.
Witness, please tell us what you
Yeah, it
discussed
could be
with
important.
the victim.
It was just something related to the fabric. That's all.
The fabric?
Yes, I asked him to make a special fabric for the next show we were planning. He wanted to confirm the details with me.
That must be the special fabric he told Rarity about in his letters to her. Did you see him again after that?
Not until the chase, no.
Even though the two of them met, it would have been before the time of death. I seriously doubt anything could have been done to throw that off, given the state of the crime scene.
Yeah.
I guess this means Playwright can't be the killer. And when did the chase occur?
Yeah,
again?
I mean, that sounds like it.
It was near the conclusion of the play. I'd say it was probably around 8:50 p.m.
The time of death is estimated to be between 8:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. This all lines up perfectly with the prosecution's case.
Which way did you look when you noticed the victim and my client?
To the right, of course.
So is the stagehouse direction thing still applied here?
Forget it.
Yeah, it just
I'll
shows them
show
the
you on
diagram.
I was watching the stage from this side, and I looked in this direction to see what was causing all
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier to visualize.
So, you were facing the dressing room then?
Yes.
How exactly did you know it was them? isn't the backstage dark during the play?
Yes, but not pitch black. I was able to make out their silhouettes. Not to mention,
Silhouettes.
they were the only two
That might be
audience
hard
who
to really
were
know
on
if they
that
were
side
them.
of the stage.
But I mean,
On
yeah.
that side, does that mean there was someone else on the other side of the stage?
Yes, the stage hooves I mentioned before. They were all positioned at the right, or rather left if we're going by house terms, wing of the stage.
How long have they been there?
They were there throughout the entire first act.
Yeah, I guess you're looking after
During
the house to be
intermission,
left.
They came on stage to clean and prepare for Act 2.
Hey,
Then
you're right.
they returned to the left wing for the second act.
In that case, what brought you to the conclusion that Coco was chasing Overall? Couldn't it have been one of the stage hooves that left their post?
Objection! Sorry, human, but that's impossible. The stage hooves were all interrogated after the incident. They claimed that not a single one of them
Yes,
left
but they
the
could be
right wing
lying.
during the second act. I assume your next proposal is going to be that all of the stage hooves were in league with one another and plotted to murder Overall Concept together?
That seems unlikely. We better look for other
But yeah, okay.
possibilities.
That's a good point, I guess.
No, it isn't.
Pity. I was looking forward to putting you down even more.
But I would like Mr.
You
Playwright
know,
to
this
clarify exactly
Prince Blue Eyes
how
not as
he
bad
knew
as
the
Trixie, but
figures
he's
he saw
close.
were Coco and Overall.
It was pretty dark, but I could make out a little of their faces. Miss Pommel looked a little scared yet determined. She was chasing a stallion who was running for help after all. As for Mr. Concept, he looked very angry.
Angry?
Hey, I don't blame him. He'd just been attacked. By his partner, no less.
I'd be more scared than angry if some pony was attacking me.
Good point. Let's see what other little tidbits we can get out of Playwright. Maybe he'll let something slip that we can use later on.
That's the hope.
I tried to ignore the disturbance they were causing, but then I saw Mr. Concept hanging right above center stage.
Hold it! There was a disturbance?
The hard hoof steps from them on the wooden floor were already bad enough. Mix that with a rattling catwalk and that loud clang. That's enough to ruin a play as it is. Not to mention that horrific hanging that happened not even a minute after they ran by.
How did you react to his death?
How do you think? Just like every pony else who saw it. Scared, horrified, distraught. My play was ruined, and one of my employees was killed.
I mean, you care about your play being ruined at this point. I
Dare
mean,
commit such a heinous act. So I went up to that catwalk, and I was shocked at what I found. I ran up to the catwalk immediately and saw Miss Pommel looking down from where Mr. Concept fell.
Hold it! And how did Miss Pommel appear when you saw her there?
She looked unfocused, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing.
which means
As
you didn't
soon
know
as
what
I saw her,
happened.
I could tell. Miss Pommel pushed Mr. Concept off the catwalk with the noose that had been prepared.
Wait a minute. You're claiming that the noose had been prepared before the chase?
Honestly, just look at the poster. You can see it right there as plain as day.
I see something, but
I can see right through you, human. You were planning on asking, why would the defendant have prepared a noose on the catwalk if she was never planning to go up there? Heh, an argument befitting a monkey such as yourself.
Well, this monkey's quick on his feet. So, this noose was already lying on the catwalk at the time of the crime.
That's right. It was supposed to be used during the climax of the play, but I certainly didn't plan for that kind of climax.
and
If it
that
makes
would
you
be
feel
for
better,
sure.
It's a twist ending no one will ever forget.
Yeah, for
When
sure.
exactly was this noose prepared?
It was during the intermission. That was another task the stage hooves had to complete before the second act, on top of clearing the catwalk of any debris. I can assure you it was done flawlessly. I went up there just as they were finishing to check it myself. The noose was ready, and the catwalk was spotless. From that point on, the stage hooves were positioned on the left side of the stage, and I was on the right side with my stage manager.
Did the stage hooves report anyone going up to the catwalk during the second act?
They did not. Along with none of them leaving their positions, Not a single one has made mention of seeing any pony go up or down the stairs, leading to the catwalk after the second act had begun, even after the murder had occurred.
So, it's a classic locker room murder then. Are
Pretty
you
much.
sure that you saw no one else while you were up there?
I'm certain. No one else was on that catwalk besides Miss Pummel and myself. She was standing right above where Mr. Concept was, you know, pushed down from.
Did you see anything else on the catwalk at all?
Well, there was a small pile of glitter and a glitter-stained fabric roll next to Miss Pommel. But I
That's
didn't pay
important.
them much attention, really.
Glitter-stained fabric roll. Huh. When we went to investigate the theater yesterday, we only saw the pile of glitter.
That would be because the police already removed it for examination. I have it right here. It was found exactly where the witness said it was in his testimony.
I say, Prince, do my eyes deceive me, or does that fabric roll have several
No, it
splinters
does.
sticking from it?
It does indeed, Your Honor. It would appear as though this roll has seen its fair share of use over the years.
Yeah, no kidding.
Something about that fabric roll doesn't sit right with me. And what did you do after you found Miss Palmel?
Well, I had to make sure she didn't try to get away, so I stayed on the catwalk and called out to my stage manager standing below to cancel the play and call for the police. They arrived relatively quickly and arrested Miss Pommel right where I found her.
But how did she respond to you? You must have said something to her when you walked up there, right?
Yeah.
We didn't actually say a word to each other.
Why?
Huh?
Miss Pommel just started crying. A lot. I felt bad for her, but I was certain she was the one who murdered Overall Concept. So instead of asking her anything, I just kept watch and let her be until the police arrived.
A classic case of crocodile tears to garner sympathy. It's what any criminal would do to make themselves appear innocent.
Yeah,
Your
I
directing
mean,
skills must have helped
maybe.
you make that flawless judgment. Good on you, witness.
Thanks. Although I have to give her credit, she sure made them look real.
Because they
That's
were.
because they were real. She had just lost a friend, and the first thing you assume is that she's the one who murdered him? I'd be upset too, if I were in her horseshoes.
As you can see, this witness has given a remarkably solid testimony. I do hope you'll spare us all any further embarrassment, human.
A solid testimony? Well, wait until you see the crack in it, as I'm about to split it wide open.
Any closing remarks, witness?
As much as I hate to believe
Oh, I don't see the
Miss
crack
Pommel
Fiends
must
is
have been
talking
the one who
about.
killed him. I can't see anything else that would suggest
But I'm sure that
otherwise.
it's there.
Objection! Are you absolutely sure about that last part, witness?
Yes, nothing else was out of place.
Well, if you ask me, that's far from true.
What? Are you calling me a liar?
Not necessarily. It could be that you simply failed to take something into account.
I'm sorry?
He failed to take something into account, you say? Humor me, then. What is it you claim the witness did not give proper consideration?
That would, of course, be this fabric roll.
The fabric roll?
Mr. Playwright, when you saw Coco and Overall run by, were either of them holding anything?
If they had been, I would have mentioned that in my testimony. I'm not in the habit of making such a simple mistake as that.
In that case, how does the prosecution intend to account for this?
How did you get up
Stop
there?
talking in riddles, defense.
Considering it was
What is it that you're trying
spotless
to say?
up there prior.
Playwright has
Oh, I
stated
see.
that he did not see Miss Palmel or the victim holding the fabric roll during the chase. We've also established that no one else went up or down the catwalk from the time the second act started to when Playwright ascended to the catwalk after the murder. The testimonies of both Playwright and the stage hooves confirm this. If this is true, then where in the world did the fabric roll come from?
Oh!
That is a good
that's
point.
Right.
What?
Nice one, Phoenix.
Our first contradiction of the day. Now, let's start turning this case.
Objection! Huh. Is that all you've got, feeble lawyer?
What do you mean? This is a serious contradiction.
I have to agree with the defense here. How could the fabric roll end up on top of the catwalk if neither of the parties that went up there were carrying anything?
I believe I have an explanation, Your Honor.
Okay, let's hear it,
Then
Blue Blood.
please go right ahead, Prince Blueblood.
Witness, when you saw the victim being chased by Miss Pamel, how far ahead was he?
Well, he'd already started climbing up the catwalk, so pretty far. If I had looked a second later, I probably would have missed him entirely.
And there you have it.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Then allow me to explain in a manner that even a commoner such as yourself can follow. The fabric roll was brought up to the catwalk by overall concept. Since he was ahead of Miss Pamel, and was already partly up the stairs to the catwalk by the time the witness took a glance at them, it would make perfect sense as to why he would miss this detail.
Why would he carry it up there,
explain it.
though?
I imagine it would be rather difficult to see something like that.
Besides, how would you also carry it,
wrong,
though?
Especially in the dark.
I shouldn't question that.
I couldn't agree more, Your Honor.
Well, there goes that contradiction. Now what?
No, overall, because it wasn't a
Don't give up
unicorn,
yet,
was he?
Phoenix.
Then you could have
Twilight?
carried his magic, but
I
then
think
you
we
would have
still
seen the
have some room
magic.
to maneuver. There's something that Blue Blood hasn't established yet that demands an explanation.
You're right. Good thinking, Twilight. Prosecutor Blueblood.
Prince, please.
Prince Blueblood. There's still something vital to this case that you've yet to establish.
And that would be...
A clear motive.
Yeah,
It's
I've been
been
saying, what is the
mentioned before
motive?
that the victim and the defendant were very close friends. What makes you think that my client, of all ponies, would want to kill him?
Oh, you really want to know? I'm afraid you'll regret asking that question, human lawyer. Your Honor,
Yes, Prince Blueblood?
the prosecution would like to call the defendant herself to the stand.
What?
What are you planning to have her testify about?
Don't worry, it's nothing she'll need to plead the fifth for. All she needs to do is tell us about her living situation.
What? How is that relevant to this case?
Prince
Yeah.
Blueblood, I too fail to see how the defendant's living situation could possibly be of any use to us.
If you'll allow me to present this testimony, Your Honor, I guarantee I will be able to establish its relevance to the case at hand. Unless, of course, the defense has so little faith in his own client that he's frightened he'll lose if she testifies.
What? How dare...
If that's the case, I can request that this trial be brought to a swift resolution if you'd like. The prosecution has already made it abundantly clear that the
But
defendant
again, we
is
have
the
no motive,
only one who had
so...
the opportunity to murder the victim. These extra bits of testimony and evidence will only serve to chip away at your fragile ego.
He has even more evidence. If we could see that, then perhaps we could use it to turn this trial around. But first, we're gonna have to get through this testimony.
Well, Mr. Wright, do you wish to have your client testify? It could be very harmful to your case if Prince
The case
Blueblood
is
could
already
establish the relevance he
trouble.
is claiming.
Do note that should you choose not to have her testify, I will call for a ruling. This trial will end here and now.
What is that face?
What do we do? If we don't let Coco testify, we're going to lose this trial.
Well, yeah, we have to let her
Well, then,
testify,
We'll
obviously.
just have to allow it. It's not like we have much choice.
But what if she says something that makes things even worse for us?
You
We can't
already
afford
are
to
in
take
trouble.
Any more damage to our case.
I know it's risky, but Blueblood said he
Don't
still
say,
has
don't let her
some more
testify, you
evidence
lose.
against
Let her
Coco.
testify, you might save it.
If we can force it out of him, we should still be able to save her. The defense agrees to the prosecution's request, Your Honor.
Kind of have no
Let's
choice
hear
at
the
this
defendant's
point.
testimony.
You've dug your own grave, human attorney.
Very well. Let the defendant take the stand.
Please state your name and occupation for the record. Defendant, quit your useless pouting and state your name and occupation.
Don't you dare yell at my friend, you pompous jerk!
Order!
Rarity.
Order in the court! Will the pony in the audience please refrain from screaming at the prosecution?
Rarity, now's not the time.
My name is Coco Pomel, and or I guess was the assistant costume designer at Bridalway Theater.
Now then,
Oh,
please
Coco.
testify about your current living arrangements in as much detail as you can manage.
Okay.
Poor Coco. I hope this isn't going to be too much for her.
Ever since I started living on my own, I've been staying at various hotels across Manhattan. I've never been that wealthy, so that was all I could manage until I met Overall. He took me under his wing as an apprentice, and even offered to let me live with him in his apartment.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
brought as much joy to him as he did to me, it seems. I don't know what I'm going to do now that he's gone.
Oh, what a tragic story. I think I might be tearing up.
That
Don't
doesn't
be
establish a
fooled,
motive,
Dora.
though.
This is merely her psychological manipulation at work. She may appear to be grieving on the outside, but on the inside, she's deviously dancing in delight.
Objection! Your Honor, this is slander!
Objection sustained. Prince Blueblood, I will not allow comments like that in my court.
You commoners and your bleeding hearts.
Now, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness.
Coco didn't mention any of this to me yesterday. I wonder why not. No use thinking about it now. I
Yeah,
just have to
but
focus
what
on
is there
how
to
to
question
get
about her
Coco out of this.
testimony there? Be something that would help us, though.
Ever since I started living on my own, I've been staying at various hotels across Manhattan.
Hold it! You've never had a place to call your own.
No, everything I've ever had I owed to those who were there to support me. Rarity, Overall, my parents, and even my old mentor.
Your old mentor. Is this the pony we're talking about yesterday? The one who always said it's every pony for themselves in the big
Oh,
city.
her.
Yes, her. I quit being her assistant several months ago and took up a job at the theater, thanks to Rarity.
No, that
How
was
sad
generous
to have you
rarity.
about that.
Oh no, of course I'm grateful to Rarity for giving me such a huge opportunity.
But what?
It doesn't change the fact that I needed her to do it for me. Just once in my life, I'd like to achieve something that had been delivered to me on a silver platter.
When you quit your
Something
job
that
with
at least played some sort of major
whatever
role
her
in-
name was.
I see. Then perhaps you...
Objection! I grow weary of your stalling tactics, human. You are her attorney, not her therapist. You're here to cross-examine
I mean,
the
yeah.
defendant, so I suggest you get on with it.
I wonder
I
how
can't
much
think of
it
that pony's
takes
name
to be
now.
That unpleasant.
Probably not
Objection
much.
sustained. Please continue with the cross-examination, Mr. Wright.
I've never been that wealthy, so that was all I could manage until I met Overall.
Hold it! Did you really have so little money that you could barely afford a place to live?
Yes, especially after I quit being an assistant to my mentor. She always made enough for both of us with the designs she sold.
That you made.
What was that she was about to say? And what about when you became an assistant costume designer at Bridalway? Did you make more money then?
No, I was only an assistant, and an apprentice at that. The director, playwright, didn't trust my skills
Ugh.
enough to give me any work worth paying much for. If it wasn't for Overall, I'm sure I would have had to quit that job for a better paying one elsewhere.
Wow, playwright.
So, Overall was able to support you and himself?
Yes, he was paid handsomely as the head costume designer of the biggest theater in Equestria. Not only that, but his designs fetched pretty high prices outside the theater as well.
Was he really that well known?
Of course he was.
how did he get to be that famous?
Well, I can only tell you what I heard from him. But
Are we getting off topic again, though?
after his parents passed away a couple of years ago, he fell into a rather deep depression. They were his only family, and his only source of encouragement, you see. He thought about giving up on his dream to become a designer. However, he soon realized he'd be betraying his parents' hopes for him if he did, and so he poured himself into his work. He slaved day and night to create design after design, and finally, he decided to enter a contest, one that would essentially guarantee a successful career in design, should he win.
And then I guess he had to win.
Afterwards, his designs became well known all across Equestria, and he has since worked at Bright Away Theater as his head costume designer.
A very good guy.
Story.
Wow. Overall must have been one strong stallion to not only overcome his parents' deaths, but also achieve his lifelong dream.
He was. If only he hadn't passed away himself, then maybe he could have helped me.
Well, maybe if you didn't kill him, he could have done so. You've no one to blame but yourself, defendant.
No! I didn't!
Let's continue with the testimony, shall we?
Don't worry, Coco.
I don't know how this
I'm
is
gonna
supposed
get
to
you
hurt
out of
her. It
this.
seems like she really cared for him. So, again, why would she kill him?
Took me under his wing as an apprentice, and even offered to let me live with him in his apartment.
Hold it! Coco, how come you didn't tell me about any of this yesterday?
What do you mean?
Yesterday in the detention center, when I asked you about your relationship with Overall Concept, this is what you said to me.
Oh, it's nothing too serious, if that's what you're thinking. We were just good friends who liked working together. He's even teaching me how to design better so I can one day make a design of my own for another play.
At the time, I took that to mean you were nothing more than coworkers. Was I wrong when I made that assumption? Coco? Coco!
What?
Did you purposely mislead me into believing you two were connected by nothing more than your work?
Maybe.
Why?
Because I was afraid that you wouldn't take my case otherwise.
Why?
What? Well, why would you think that? Uh-oh. I don't like the sound of that. What in the world is Coco hiding from me?
I brought as much joy to him as he did to me, it seems. I don't know what I'm going to do now that he's gone.
Hold it! That's what every pony keeps saying. That you two seem to get along so well. First Playwright, and then even Rarity said that you told her how happy Overall made you feel in your letters to her.
Yeah, we were really great friends. Everyone in the theater knew that.
And that's exactly why I'm so puzzled.
What do you mean?
You just said that you were afraid I wouldn't take your case if I knew the truth about your living arrangements prior to today. Coco, you must have known that I have heard nothing but positive comments about your relationship with the victim from those who knew you both. So why would you think I would hesitate if I knew you two were living together?
Oh, come now, attorney. The answer is so obvious, I'm surprised it's taken you this long to realize it.
If you know the reason, why not just say so already? Were you trying to establish some sort of motive with this testimony? Let's hear it then.
Very well. I would like the court to take a look at this.
What is this, Prince Blueblood?
It's a document that recognizes both Coco Pamel and Overall Concept as domestic partners. The two entered into this partnership not long after they began living together.
And how is that relevant?
My, attorney. Are you not aware of one of the primary aspects of a domestic partnership?
Sorry. It's, not my area of expertise. Sadly.
And you call yourself a lawyer? What a joke. Very well, I shall explain.
Okay,
if a
do
partner
so.
passes away intestate, that's without leaving behind a will for you uninformed commoners, when they are in a domestic partnership, as Mr. Concept did, their partner will receive all of their assets.
Oh. Oh no!
Oh, I see where they're going with
Yes,
this.
Now you finally get it. That is why this poor, underpaid assistant costume designer murdered one of the most wealthy and well-known designers in Equestria to claim his assets for
But
herself.
wouldn't she not get the assets if she murdered him? I mean, if it was proved that she murdered him, then wouldn't that null and void that contract?
Order in the court! I must admit, that certainly sounds like an incredibly plausible motive for murder.
Of course it is, Your Honor, because it's the truth.
Coco, why did you hide this from me? How am I supposed to recover from this?
Phoenix, what are we supposed to do now? This motive, it's almost too perfect.
Yeah, almost too perfect. You're
I
right.
don't know. And it definitely didn't help that Coco kept this hidden from us all this time. I had no way to prepare for this.
Well, you have to say something. Fight back. Otherwise, Coco will be found guilty.
Objection! The defendant was being supported very well by the victim. She didn't need to steal his money.
Objection! Did I ever say she was after his money specifically?
What do you mean?
Recall what I said, attorney. She would inherit all of Overall Concept's assets. Assets, attorney. Like, for example, all of his fabrics and designs.
She make her own designs,
of course, the money
though.
she would inherit would be a nice bonus, and no doubt added fuel to the fire, but what Coco Pamel was really after were the victim's designs.
No, I don't think so.
Why? Why would she need those?
During our investigation, we discovered that Miss Pamel had entered a fashion competition. The very same competition the victim himself entered a couple years ago.
No.
Just to clarify exactly what this contest is, it's a fashion competition where the winner receives the honor of being recognized by the most well-known designers in the industry. While not particularly large, it is very prestigious, needing several background checks to even enter. Winning this contest is a big boost to one's career, as you can imagine.
What is it, Twilight?
I don't know. Something about that strikes me as important. I just can't put my hoof on it.
It goes without saying that a contest such as this would draw in several other keen fashion designers looking to rise to the top. With this much competition stacked against her, Miss Pamel was not confident enough in her abilities to win the contest.
And what brought you to that conclusion?
The defendant herself admitted as much. When we interrogated her about the contest, she told us that she did not feel confident about her chances of winning.
Then surely Overall would have helped Miss Palmel in making designs, or at least guided
Yeah.
her.
Possibly. However, it's against the rules to seek direct help from some pony who has already won the contest. It's a preventative measure against copying previous victors' work with minor alterations.
But she was learning from him.
Yeah.
I'm sure Miss Palmel had the ability to do just fine in the contest.
Her actual level of competence is irrelevant. What matters is how she felt about her prospects of winning. Besides, I'm not finished, attorney.
What do you mean?
There's a special fabric the victim was making, as mentioned earlier by the previous witness. He was creating this fabric in secrecy for an upcoming play.
So why is this special fabric important in this case?
You should have connected the dots by now. Considering that Miss Pamel and Mr. Concept lived together for a number of months, she naturally would know about this special fabric. And
Yeah,
just like you
true.
said, Miss Pamel was learning from him, so this was to her advantage.
You're really accusing Miss Palmel of cheating in this contest?
Cheating in the contest and betraying Overall Concept's trust.
And that's why...
Looks like you finally realized it. That is exactly why the defendant murdered Overall Concept. It was her chance at stealing his designs and passing them off as her own.
Twilight, If you have something to say, then by all means, say it.
On the night of the murder, the victim was working on that very fabric. This, too, we heard from Mr. Playwright. That was probably what set the defendant off. Upon seeing the fabric, she made up her mind, once and for all, to murder the victim. She attacked him in the dressing room, but failed to land a strike. The victim fled out of the room with a fabric roll in his mouth, likely taken for the purposes of self-defense, with Miss Pamel hot on his trail. The two were spotted by Mr. Playwright as they made their way up the stairs to the catwalk. Finally, as Overall Concept reached the top, he tripped, dropping the fabric roll. The defendant caught up to him, grabbed the roll, and proceeded to knock him unconscious. Afterwards, she wrapped the rope that was laying on the catwalk around the victim's neck and threw him over the edge of the rail, finally killing him.
I mean, if all that did happen, then wouldn't you want to be a bit more secretive or try
If
to
it
hide the
weren't
fact?
for Mr. Playwright immediately coming up the catwalk after the murder, she may
I mean,
have
maybe she
gotten
didn't
away
expect
with
if
it.
this really did
But
happen,
she
that you would not
can't hide
expect
from
that.
her crime now, can she, Mr. Wright? And to think, this incredibly selfless stallion was planning on proposing to Coco, and she stole his life away because of her own selfish desires.
What?
Propose?
Prince Blueblood? What do you mean?
During our inquiries regarding Overall Concept and Miss Pamel's relationship, many ponies employed at Bridalway Theater commented on how much he cared about her. Apparently, he often said that being together with her made him even happier than when
So
his
even
parents
less of a
were
reason
still
why she
alive.
would kill him.
They mentioned that he was going to propose next week, after another play. He even ordered this custom ring to give to her. I have it right here, Your Honor. The police found it while they were investigating his apartment.
He was going to propose to me?
This shows just how cruel you really are. You took advantage of an innocent stallion's kindness for your own selfish gains, and killed him in the process. Mayors like you are corrupting our good-natured society of Equestria. It's despicable. Don't you agree, ponies of the gallery?
I think it's more that would more explain
she do
that
something
you.
like that?
That's more you,
After
but
everything that kind
makes the world
stallion
bad.
did for her.
I never thought ponies could be so evil.
Order! Order in the court! My word! Could someone who looks so adorable really be so cruel?
Looks are very deceiving. And what better example of that than this heartless, soulless excuse of a mayor?
How dare you spew such poisonous lies! Coco
Wow,
would never
Rarity.
give up to a stallion who cared about her. Why, I ought to come over there and tear your cold little heart out.
Yes,
for that.
do it, Rarity.
Whoever that is out there, please refrain from shouting, or else you will be removed from the court!
Rarity, I get that you don't like this guy, but I need you to keep quiet if I'm going to properly help Coco.
Well, Defense, anything you want to say to counter my claims? Or have you decided that you've suffered enough humiliation?
Come on. There's gotta be something I can say to this. But he's absolutely tarnished Coco's image to the rest of the court. Where am I even supposed to begin this uphill battle?
Yeah,
It
you're
seems
kind
as
of
if
in
the
trouble there,
defense
Phoenix.
has no further objections. In that case, I think it's about time for me to pass my verdict. Any closing remarks, Prince Blueblood?
I warned you, human attorney. You should have saved yourself from putting on this pathetic display when you had the chance. Your Honor, please proceed.
No! I can't let it end like this!
Very well. This court finds the defendant, Coco Pamel.
Objection!
Who was that?
It was me, Your Honor.
Twilight?
Prosecutor Blueblood, I want you to clarify something for me.
Prince,
Blue Blood, you said Coco saw the special fabric on the night of the murder, and that's what prompted her to go through with her plan to kill Overall.
Excuse me? You are to address me as...
Is that what you're claiming or not?
Yes, that is what I am claiming. What of it?
Can you please show us the fabric you're talking about?
Surely you must have seen it for yourselves. It was left sitting in the dressing room. But if you insist
Oh, that
on seeing
fabric,
it again,
okay.
I had it brought into court today. Here it is. Are you happy?
Huh! Just as I had thought.
What is that supposed to mean?
I believe Mr. Wright can answer that for me.
Of course. Thanks, Twilight. What she means, Prince Blueblood, is that the fabric you presented to the court is not the special fabric that Overall made.
What? No, it has to be. Playwright confirmed it when we asked him. This fabric is what Overall was commissioned to make for the theater.
Then let me rephrase my response. True, that is indeed the special fabric Overall was working on for the theater that night. However, the fabric that you presented is currently incomplete!
What?
Oh, that's a good point. Overall, only
Order!
overall concept
Order!
knew how to
Prince
make the
Blueblood,
finish
what is the
making it.
meaning of this? I find it hard to believe that the defendant would have murdered the victim for a roll of incomplete fabric.
Then that's it. She must not have known it was incomplete.
Objection! How is that possible? She and the victim not only worked together, but they lived together. There's no way she wouldn't have known what
I
the
mean, I
fabric
guess
was
that makes more
supposed to look
sense. Yeah,
like.
she would know.
Well, maybe she thought she could finish the fabric on her own.
Okay, let's test that theory then, shall we? Mr. Playwright.
Yes?
I recall you said something in your testimony earlier regarding the fabric Overall was working on that night.
He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
If you don't mind me asking, what exactly was this paint?
Fluorescent paint. The fabric was supposed to be covered in both that paint and a touch of glitter.
That explains
And what
the
does that prove?
fluorescent
Miss Pamela would have known that.
footprints.
You said so yourself.
It's not about whether or not she would have known about it, but whether or not she could gain access to it.
What do you mean? She was going to inherit all of Overall's assets. The fluorescent paint and glitter would have been included in that as well.
True. She would have inherited whatever Overall had left. What about after she ran out?
I mean, that's a good point. After she ran out,
This fabric was meant to be used in the next play at Bridalway Theater.
and she would have.
Naturally, that means Coco would have had to make more,
More
if
of it,
she
yeah.
intended on using it in the contest. And making more fabric means buying more paint.
And how is that an issue? She would have inherited all of Overall's money. Buying a few cans of paint would have been nothing.
Not this paint, I'm afraid.
Explain yourself.
Yesterday, when we were investigating the theater, Rarity, one of the most fashion-forward ponies in Equestria, had a few things to say about this fluorescent paint.
Fluorescent paint? Such a thing exists? Where can I get this paint? It might help with my business. I still wonder where he got this paint. It must have been awfully expensive, especially since he used so much of it.
If Rarity hadn't even heard of the paint, let alone considered it to be cheap, then I doubt this paint is anywhere near as accessible or affordable as regular paint.
I mean,
Even
in
if
that
Coco
case,
were
then she
able
wouldn't
to
have been able to
find and
afford
buy
it,
some,
or
do you really
if
think
she can
she'd
afford
be
it
able
for
to
money.
do so before the contest deadline? Or
Yeah, to
spend
find in
that much
what
of
he's
her
saying.
newly earned money on a chance that the fabric would be good enough to win a contest? If she lost, she'd have a very hard time making that money back.
Objection! If you look at the fabric by itself, it's already relatively nice to look at, even without all the bells and whistles the victim added to it. She could have just entered the base fabric itself into the contest.
Maybe so. But you can't deny that this evidence blows a hole in your theory that Coco killed overall for this fabric.
Mr.
Very
Wright has a
true.
point, Prince Blueblood. The motive you proposed isn't very persuasive given this new information. Do you have anything else against the defendant that proves she committed this crime?
Of course, Your Honor. I have yet to produce the most damaging piece of evidence to this court.
Oh, more
Is that
evidence. Let's
so?
hear it. See it.
So, we're finally going to see what he was talking about earlier.
Indeed, Your Honor. And I'll have Playwright explain what I mean.
Huh? Me?
Witness, when you found Miss Pamel on the catwalk that night, did you notice anything odd about her?
Well, as I said earlier, she seemed rather dazed.
And what about her hooves? Did you notice anything in particular about them?
Oh, that's right!
What is it, witness?
Miss Pommel's forehooves. When I discovered her on top of the catwalk, they were covered in glitter.
What?
The defendant's forehooves were covered in glitter? What does this mean?
Allow me to explain, Your Honor. Recall that Miss Pamel and Mr. Concept were working in the dressing room prior to the crime. During the course of their work, the defendant must have gotten her hooves covered in glitter.
Oh! So the glitter marks on the fabric roll?
Precisely, Your Honor. They were left behind by Miss Pamel when she used it to hit the victim.
Shouldn't there be something
This
on,
can't
like,
be.
blood or
And
something
now
on
the
the roll if
prosecution
she
would
hit
like
him?
to submit our final piece of evidence, the noose.
The noose itself?
The court is no doubt aware of the fact that this is the noose used to hang the victim to death. Though I have yet to reveal a crucial detail concerning this noose, we have discovered that, just like the fabric roll, there are traces of glitter on it.
Traces of glitter.
Considering that there is only one conscious pony on the catwalk that could have committed the crime, the only logical inference is that Miss Pamel is the culprit. But knowing that she had glitter left on her hooves, and that there was glitter on both the fabric roll and the noose, it has become crystal clear that Miss Pamel was the one who knocked the victim out.
But what about the hoof prints that go all the way to the other side of the catwalk? Haven't brought that up yet. That's something.
That seems to be very decisive evidence.
There was another pony up there.
The one who touched the rope was Miss Pamel herself.
Of course. There's no other way it could be any pony else. I presume a guilty verdict is in order, Your Honor?
It would seem that way.
Objection! But what about the motive? It's unlikely that Coco would have killed for a fabric that she had no reliable way of reproducing.
Very true.
You're still obsessing over that?
Yes.
Perhaps she merely killed him for his other designs, or maybe just his money. The defendant has a laundry list of potential motives, attorney. That fact doesn't disappear by virtue of you pointing out that the completed version of the fabric was not at the theater that night, you know. Besides, who can say for certain what was going through that demented pony's head that night? For all we know, the defendant may have a motive beyond our wildest imaginations. What matters, though, is that all of the evidence points to her as the one responsible for this crime. The glitter on her hooves, the fabric roll, the noose itself, and being found at the scene with no chance that any pony else had slipped away unnoticed.
Ah, there we go. Now it's time to
All of
present
it
that
points
evidence.
to one simple conclusion.
Probably.
Coco Pamel murdered overall concept in cold blood.
Order! Order in the court! Mr. Wright,
I don't know when we use my thumbnail.
Yes, Your
in this
Honor.
episode yet.
Prince Blueblood has presented a very convincing case, even if the motive is somewhat unclear at the moment. I'm afraid if you have nothing further to add, then I will have no choice but to end the trial. This is your last chance, Mr. Wright. Do you have anything else to present to this court to counter the prosecution's claims?
Of course he doesn't. If he did, he would have presented it a long time ago.
This is it. If I mess up here, the trial's over. I need to present something that casts significant doubt over Blue Blood's claims. I believe he may have unintentionally given me just the hint I needed. Your Honor, I do indeed have something to present to the court at this time.
What? How could you possibly?
Now, Prince Blueblood. Save your surprise for after you've seen what it is Mr. Wright has to present. Mr. Wright, please present this piece of evidence to the court.
Yes, Your Honor. Take that!
Is that a torn piece of fabric?
Really? That's it? That's
Not
your
the piece I was
big
thinking
piece
of.
evidence?
Perhaps not in terms of its physical size, but certainly in the hole it'll create in your argument.
Cease your smug little remarks and explain, human.
You're the last pony I want to hear that from, Blue Blood. Very well. We found this ripped piece of fabric during our investigation of the stage. It was right below the center of the catwalk.
I fail to understand how this relates to anything discussed thus far.
Well, how about we let the one who requested the fabric explain it to us then?
Huh? Me?
Playwright, you were the one who asked overall concept to make this
Right.
fabric, correct?
Yes, we needed it for our next play.
For your next play. Meaning none of the costumes for the play on the night of the murder used this fabric?
That is correct.
Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright?
It's simple, Your Honor. If the fabric wasn't being used on the night of the crime, then why did we find a piece of it on the stage afterwards?
That's a good point.
Objection! That piece of fabric could have found its way there at any point. It's impossible for you to prove when exactly it wound up there.
Objection! I may not be able to prove the exact time it ended up on stage, but I can definitely prove it was after the play's intermission.
How?
Recall Playwright's testimony for a moment. He had this to say about what was happening on stage during the 15-minute intermission.
Well, they had to completely clear the stage of all the props, as well as any debris that would cause problems for the actors on stage, mainly tripping hazards.
The stage hooves had to clear the stage? No!
Yeah, if it'd been there
If
earlier,
this
they would
piece
have
of
found
fabric
it.
had been on stage before intermission, it would have been cleared off by the time the second act had begun. After all, there's no way Playwright would have allowed for anything less. Am I right, witness?
Absolutely. It's out of the question that I would have let the play continue if something like this was still on stage. I mean, it could have distracted the audience or ruined the concentration of one of the performers.
So you see, Prince Blueblood, there's no way this piece of fabric was on the stage before the intermission.
Objection! The victim came on stage during the intermission to talk to Playwright about the fabric. It's possible he could have accidentally dropped that piece on the stage then, and it simply went unnoticed because the stage had already been cleaned.
Objection! Sorry, but that's also impossible.
Why's that?
Let's go back to Playwright's testimony one more time.
He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
If you examine this fabric closely, you'll notice that it's covered in glitter. Not only that, but if we were to turn off the lights in this courtroom, I'm sure you'll realize that it's also covered
Which means
in
it was
glows and
made
paint.
after the intermission.
However, according to Playwright, Overall didn't start covering his fabric in paint until after he had come on stage.
Then, what does this mean, Mr. Wright?
This piece of fabric proves two things. The first is that someone brought it up to the catwalk during the second act of the play.
The catwalk?
And what ridiculous train of logic are we meant to board to arrive at that conclusion?
Well, there's simply no other way for it to have landed on the stage, right? No one could have brought it to the stage directly without being seen. So the only conceivable option must be that it came from above.
Fine. And what's the second thing that piece of fabric supposedly proves?
Isn't it obvious? It proves that at the theater that night, there existed at least one sheet of overall special fabric that had been completed.
That's absurd!
But how is that possible? I thought the police only found one sheet of the fabric.
Yeah.
It was the incomplete version.
Which can only mean that the other sheet was stolen from the theater that night. A third party must have escaped with it.
Look at that.
Objection! You are either desperate beyond belief or have gone completely insane, human attorney. There's no way a third party could
And now we
exist.
can show the hoof prints in the catwalk.
Well then,
Glitter
why
on
don't you
them.
explain what this
They're
means then?
fluorescent.
This piece of fabric clearly proves that the completed fabric was there at the theater that night. So why didn't the police find it?
Simple. The defendant had hidden it prior to the crime. She must have been planning to steal the one sheet of fabric all along. When Overall Concept saw that it was missing, that's when Coco attacked him. I suspect she hid it in a spot where none of us could even find it, which is why it is still missing even now.
That's impossible. The discovery of a piece of fabric on stage proves that it was out in the open somewhere. The stage was cleared in preparation for Act 2. The fabric must have been taken either on or above the stage during the second act of the play. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this piece with us today. In fact,
That's very true.
I need you to clarify something for me.
And what would that be?
After the crime occurred, was there someone watching the stage at all times?
Yes, there would always be some pony either on or watching the stage. The fabric would have been noticed if it was brought on stage at any given moment.
That settles it then. This indicates that the fabric had to have gone up the catwalk once the second act started, which means Coco couldn't have hidden the fabric beforehand. It must have gotten torn somehow, and a piece fell to the stage below.
Objection! You've forgotten that if some pony went up that catwalk with that fabric during the second act, they would have been spotted holding it by playwright or the stage hooves on the right wing of the stage. If that fabric glows in the dark, then it should have been almost impossible to miss. But none of the theater staff have said anything about seeing some pony carrying a glowing sheet of fabric up the catwalk.
Very true, but
If you take the stage hooves out of the picture, playwright definitely would have noticed if the victim had been carrying that fabric. Then I'll propose another theory.
Another theory?
Playwright said in his testimony he only got a small glimpse of Overall running up the stairs.
Correct. And what of it?
Well, what if there was some pony ahead of Overall?
I mean, that's
Then playwright
a good
wouldn't have
point.
been able to see them, meaning a third party could have been involved from the start.
You only saw overall. You didn't see if there's anybody in front,
please,
any pony
like
in front.
That's even possible.
What do you mean?
If this third pony exists, then how did Miss Pamel not see them? If she was following Mr. Concept the entire time, there's no way the defendant would have missed this third pony escaping. At the very least, she should have seen them on the catwalk. Yet has she mentioned such a thing? No. So, how do you explain that, attorney?
Actually, it's quite simple.
Simple? This should be good.
When I spoke to Miss Pamel, she told me that she had been suffering from memory loss and headaches. I believe it's possible that during the crime, she was knocked unconscious by this third party, and the headaches and memory loss was the side effect from her being knocked unconscious.
I mean, that would be
Do you
very
really
convenient if it
expect
was
me to
untrue,
believe
but
the
it's
nonsense
true.
you're spouting? You do realize that you're speaking for the defendant, right? She's obviously lying to save her own flank. Even if she were hit on the head hard enough to leave a bruise, what makes you think that this incident happened that night and not the day before? And what kind of weapon would this mystery third party have used to knock her out? I demand you show evidence that she was struck on the head the night of the murder.
Gladly, here it is. Take that!
The fabric roll?
And how does this prove anything?
Before the trial started, we noticed that there was some glitter stuck in her mane.
I believe this is the result of being
I mean,
struck
that
by
would
the
make
fabric
that would make actually it makes
How would
actually it makes sense.
would that result in glitter getting stuck in her mane? Splinters and wood chips, maybe, but certainly not glitter.
Well, as you pointed out, there are traces of glitter on the roll. What if some of it ended up in Coco's mane as a result of getting hit with it?
Preposterous! The glitter on that roll came from when the defendant held it in her hooves to attack the victim.
Can you prove that that's the exact scenario that caused the glitter to end up on the roll?
Well, no, but how else could it have gotten there?
Let's stop and think about where this roll came from. The dressing room. I think it's very likely that the roll could have gotten covered in glitter there.
What do you mean, Mr. Wright?
Here's what I think. Coco and Overall were working in the dressing room prior to the crime. During the course of their work, they must have scattered glitter around the table, where this roll may have been sitting. In fact, yesterday while I investigated the dressing room, I found a can of glitter that clearly showed signs of spillage, sitting right next to the other roll of fabric. After this third party stole the sheet of fabric, they were spotted and ran off. Overall must have grabbed the nearby fabric roll as he gave chase, likely hoping to use it to stop the thief. However, once he reached the top of the catwalk, he tripped and dropped the roll. The thief took advantage of this and used the roll to knock out both Overall and Coco, who had followed her teacher up the catwalk in pursuit of the thief.
That sounds absolutely ludicrous.
But can you deny the possibility?
With ease. First off, even if this third party managed to make it all the way up to the catwalk without being spotted by Playwright, how would they have managed to get down without being seen by the stage hooves in the left wing? Not to mention, if the fabric roll left glitter in Coco's mane, then why didn't it also leave glitter in Overall's mane when he was knocked unconscious?
Well,
Good
you
point.
See, that's...
You see, Mr. Wright? Your theory makes absolutely no sense.
But there is some
It's
explanation.
inconceivable that a third party could exist, because there's no way they could have escaped without being spotted by Playwright or the stage hooves.
He's right. How am I supposed to prove that the third party was able to get away when the left side of the stage was being watched? And I don't even know where to begin with Overall's mane.
Excuse me, if I may interject.
Is there something on your mind, witness?
Yes, I'd like to make a confession, Your Honor.
A confession?
I'd like to amend my statement regarding when I went up to the catwalk. I actually didn't go up immediately.
Why did you say you did?
Huh?
Witness? What are you doing?
Please, explain what you mean.
It's as I say, Your Honor. I did not go up to the catwalk immediately after seeing the hanging. Before I went up to investigate, I called over my stage hooves from the right wing and my actors from the stage. I ordered them to attend to the panicking audience and try to calm them down. And I asked my stage manager to inform the police of what happened. After a good 5 minutes of giving my staff instructions, that was when I decided to go up to the catwalk.
Witness! Why didn't you share this time discrepancy earlier? This is crucial information!
Yeah.
It's not as if I intentionally wanted to withhold this information. Prince Blueblood told me not to share it because he said it was irrelevant
Of course.
information.
What? Why, you?
Prince Blueblood! You knew about this information?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
But a 5-minute discrepancy is a
Not
long time, Blue
important enough
Blood.
to address.
Yeah, right. You withheld this information because you knew it was detrimental to your case.
To think I actually blamed Miss Pommel for this heinous crime. But now it's possible that she's innocent, isn't it? I'll make sure to tell everything that I know from this point on. I promise.
Because if you call the
As
stage
much
hooves
as I
over,
would have
then that means
appreciated
there'd be
it
no
if
one
you
watching
did
the
that
door.
from the
Some
beginning.
third party.
I am glad that you are willing to tell us everything this time.
Many thanks, Your Honor.
Witness, you ruined my perfect case.
A perfect case
After
of
hearing
lies.
what could be the truth, this is nowhere near perfection. And I should know. I've been striving for it all my life, only to come up short every time. But at least I can acknowledge that I can get as close to it as possible.
This information could be just what I need to move forward. Your Honor, we now know that there was no one near the left side of the catwalk after the murder, and that there was a 5-minute gap between the hanging and playwright going up the catwalk. The possibility of a third party being involved is undeniable.
Yeah, so there could be a third party. It is a third party.
I do believe this to be the case as well, Mr. Wright.
Objection! No, there's still a flaw in that claim.
What flaw?
I'll have you know the police interrogated every member of the theater and all 5,000 attendees in the audience. If this pony really escaped with the fabric, then why was their absence not discovered during the course of the investigation?
Well, the thief in question must have been someone who was not a part of the audience or the theater staff.
Oh, really?
That's very true.
And how did they get in?
Through here. Take that!
The back door?
Precisely, Your Honor. They must have come through the
Or
back door of the theater
they
without
came
purchasing
in
a ticket. I'm willing to bet that's also how they
as
left
a
the
friend
theater
or
after they
something.
stole the fabric.
Stop suggesting that this third party exists. I demand proof, filthy human. Proof! Give me something that truly convinces me.
When are you
that
gonna show
some
those
pony
glowing
else
hoof
was
prints?
here
Come
that
on,
night.
Phoenix.
You should be careful what you wish for, Prince Blueblood.
Please, just show us the evidence already, Mr. Wright. My beard is quivering in anticipation.
Here's the proof, Your Honor. Take that!
A picture? Of what?
Take a closer look, and you'll find out.
What's this? Are those glowing hoof prints?
Excuse me?
Order! Order! What a turn of events! Glowing hoof prints left behind at the crime scene?
It's not just the fact they exist, it's their path that tells a bigger story.
Please explain, Mr. Wright.
The hoof prints started at the dressing room, right where we're proposing that this chase started. The hoof prints then lead up to the catwalk, just like how Playwright described in his eyewitness account of the chase. And finally, they lead down from the right side of the catwalk and out the back door of the theater. This path was not taken by anyone else involved in this crime.
Left side, but
The existence of these hoof marks without a doubt proves that a third pony was there that night.
Objection! What kind of preposterous game are you trying to play, human? The police did not find any hoof prints of the sort
because the
during
lights
their
were on.
investigation. This has to be false evidence. The court cannot accept this.
Turn the lights off and you would have found them.
Order! Order in the court, I say! Prince Blueblood, that is an extraordinary accusation. I've known Mr. Wright for years, and I had the misfortune of mistaking him for a crook once before. And thankfully, I was proven wrong. You're going to need some serious evidence to back up your claim if you continue with this assertion. Otherwise, I will hold you in contempt of court.
But Your Honor...
Whoa, that was out of nowhere. The judge really just stood up for me against the
Yeah,
prosecution.
that is surprising.
I'm actually quite flattered.
You see, it's just that the police didn't see these hoof prints during their investigation.
I believe the explanation for that is quite simple. Did the police ever turn off the lights during their investigation?
Of course not. Why would they?
And there you have it. The reason why the police couldn't see the hoof prints is because the only way to see them is by turning off the lights.
In that case, shouldn't the witness have been able to see them when he went up to the catwalk?
Well, why don't we ask him? Playwright, were these hoof prints on the catwalk prior to the second act?
No, there were no hoof prints to be found before the second act. The catwalk was dark during preparation, so they would have been impossible
Okay.
to miss.
And what about when you went up there after the murder? Did you see them then?
No, I did not.
Then the answer is obvious. The hoof prints were made after the incident, meaning that these glowing hoof prints have no relevance to this case.
Actually, I think they do.
What?
Care to explain? main witness?
Yeah.
Yes, it's true that I didn't see the fluorescent hoof prints after the murder, but there was
Right,
a
because the
good
lights
reason
were on.
why.
And what would that be?
The safety lights were on.
Safety lights?
The lights hanging above the catwalk. They seemed to be on the fritz yesterday. That's how we found those hoof prints in the first place.
Wait a minute. Did you see that?
See what?
There's something glowing on the floor. Twilight, could you turn off the lights for a second?
Yeah, okay.
There!
Huh? They're hoof prints. And they're glowing.
Impossible!
Oh, right! Yes, we've been meaning to fix that issue, but I'm always getting so caught up in the plays we're performing that I guess I tend to forget about those
That
sort
makes
of things.
sense.
The pulley system isn't in the greatest condition either, which is why we've had to tie the rope to the catwalk instead.
Not exactly the pinnacle of safety, those lights. Especially
No.
not with a director like this around.
They're usually off during performances as well as during the second act. But when I went up after what had befallen, they were switched on, which means the hoof prints wouldn't have shown up.
But what about the rest of the backstage area? Even if you somehow explained why you weren't able to see the glowing
Yeah, the rest
hoof
of it would
prints
have been
on the
dark.
catwalk, why weren't the rest of the hoof prints discovered? If it was dark there, they should have been seen.
That'd be because I turned the backstage lights on as well.
So you see, Prince Blue Blood?
At what point,
These
though?
hoof prints could very well be connected to this case.
Right as soon as you notice.
Then it is clear that these hoof
I mean, you
prints
probably weren't
belong
paying
to
attention
Miss
to it.
Pamel.
What makes you think they belong to her?
She must have
I
gotten
don't-
her
there's something
hooves
I'm not
wet with paint
seeing
from
here.
working in the dressing room and chased the
You
victim
turned the
while
back
her hooves were
lights
still
on,
wet.
sure, but
He likely turned on the safety lights when he fled so he could see where he was going.
okay, yeah.
But the prints go down from the right
Them
side.
on
of the
then
catwalk.
ran. That's why they weren't showing
Playwright
up.
found Coco standing right above where Overall was hanged. Are you suggesting that she descended from the catwalk and then climbed back up?
She certainly had time to do so. After all, Playwright didn't immediately go up to the catwalk, now did he?
Damn it! Now he's using my own argument against me. Do you have proof that these prints even belong to Coco?
Process of elimination, attorney. It couldn't have been any pony else. It certainly wasn't the victim. Otherwise, the
is
trail
that
would have
pony's
stopped
name?
at the catwalk. Not to mention the fact that his hooves don't have any paint on them. And this third party you claim was there.
Third party
would have
pony,
had
I'm trying to
no
think of the
way
name.
get their
I think I
hooves
know
dirty
who
with the paint.
might be.
So it could only be Miss Pamel.
And what if there existed a way to prove that those prints could be hers?
I beg your pardon?
I certainly would like to see that, Mr. Wright. Tell me, how do you plan on proving that Miss Pamel couldn't have made those prints?
Surrey,
With this, Your
Surrey,
Honor.
that's who it was.
Take that!
Is that a
I think it has to be
flashlight?
Surrey.
Yes, Your Honor, but not just any
But
flashlight.
why or
Forensic
how, I'm
flashlight.
not sure.
This has the ability to show traces of fluorescent paint without needing to turn off the lights. If there are no traces of paint on her hooves, then that means Coco couldn't have been the one to make those hoof prints.
Very well. I permit the use of the flashlight.
Miss Pamel,
Oh, yes?
What's Surrey's?
if
Surrey
I may,
something.
I'd like to run this
I know
forensic
Surrey,
flashlight
so.
on your hooves.
Yes, of course.
Just as I thought. No traces of fluorescent paint at all. This means Coco couldn't have been the one to leave those prints behind.
Objection! You do realize she could have just washed her hooves to remove the paint?
Objection! Even if she wanted to, she wouldn't have been able to. The defendant had no opportunity to wash them after she was caught by Playwright and arrested.
Are you certain?
Prince Blueblood?
Your Honor, allow me to let you in on a little something about the night of the crime. It was raining.
Raining?
Think for a second. If Miss Pamel went out the back door with her hooves covered in this paint, then it could have all been easily washed off in the rain.
But there was still glitter on her mane and hooves. The rain would have washed those out as well.
It seems as if you've forgotten this little bit of testimony from Playwright.
Well, there was a small pile of glitter and a glitter-stained fabric roll next to Miss Pommel, but I didn't pay them much attention, really.
The glitter in Miss Pommel's mane and on her hooves could have been added after returning to the catwalk. She could have seen the pile of glitter left lying there, put some of it on her mane and hooves, and then simply touched the fabric roll to leave glitter marks on it.
Do you even know what you're saying right now? You're talking as if she replanted the glitter on herself on purpose. Why would she want to frame herself for the crime?
To give the illusion that a third party exists, of course.
What?
Well, she done nothing then.
Yes, it's all coming together now. After cleaning herself in the rain, Miss Pommel realized that she would have been caught red-hoofed because of all of the remaining evidence pointing to her. So, making the best of a bad situation, she improvised, fabricating her own evidence to make it appear as if she had been framed.
Yeah, there was definitely a third party, and I think it's Surrey.
Prince Blueblood, are you accusing the defendant of tampering with the crime scene?
Of course I am.
Because she has a grudge against Coco.
Objection! That's ridiculous! Why would my client decide to fabricate evidence? If she washed herself off in the rain, then that would already make her look innocent. What would compel her to put herself at risk and go as far to mess with the crime scene?
I've already said it multiple times. It's to create the illusion of a third party. The defendant was smart enough to foresee that she would be the initial suspect in this murder, so she did everything she could to fabricate evidence in order to tell a story of a third party escaping the scene after knocking her out and causing her to lose her memory.
That's insane!
Prince Blueblood, I am honestly having some difficulty believing all of this to be possible. Though, admittedly, I'm rather curious as to what led you to this conclusion.
Your Honor, I am confident another theory can demonstrate to the court why I am right.
Another theory? Please explain.
Very well. Allow me to run through my theory of the events after the murder had been committed. First, the defendant went down from the catwalk and outside to wash her hooves. Next, she retrieved the fabric from where she had initially hidden it. Heading back outside, she found a secure hiding spot where it wouldn't be found by the police. As she was hiding the fabric, she tore off a piece of it as part of her ploy to create misleading evidence. Lastly, she ran back up to the catwalk and covered her hooves in glitter, while also leaving some traces of it in her mane. She then dropped the piece of fabric off the catwalk and left glitter marks on the fabric roll.
You know, I gotta say, I'm really impressed by the voice actor who did Blue Blood. He really makes you
ran
hate
up the
Blue
catwalk,
Blood.
killed the victim, and hit her on the head before escaping. Don't you see, human? You've fallen right into her trap.
That's a good voice actor that can really make you dislike a pony. Not that we already did dislike
This
Blood
is
Blood.
preposterous! You're truly saying that the defendant forged evidence to make herself look innocent?
Indeed I am, Your Honor. I can see right through her little tricks, and this filthy human fell for it.
No! There has to be something I'm missing. Something that proves Coco didn't do anything that Blue Blood is suggesting. Do you have something, Twilight?
Huh?
You've been quiet for a while now. Have you thought of something?
Sort of.
Well, do you think it'll get us out of this situation?
Well, I think so.
Really? What is it?
Think about where the paint came from.
You mean the dressing room?
Yes. You said that a third party could have also been in the dressing room to steal the fabric.
That's
Right.
what I suggested.
Let's assume what you said is true. If they were just trying to get the fabric, then how would their hooves get wet with the paint? And we can't say that it was from the paint can since there were no spills anywhere when we went in the dressing room.
I mean, that's a good point.
What
So,
do you think could have happened?
what could have happened?
Do you remember what Playwright said?
The intermission started at around 8 o'clock and it ended at 8:15. The second act would have run from then until 9 o'clock if Overall hadn't been murdered.
Did you see Overall at all during the intermission?
Actually, I did. He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He
Right.
said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
If we consider that, and recall what Athena said during the investigation...
Athena, how long does it take for fluorescent paint to dry?
According to Junie, it takes about an hour.
I forgot about that.
Overall and Coco started coating the fabric and paint during the intermission, which lasted from 8 o'clock to 8:15, and the murder occurred at 8:50...
That means that the sheet of fabric Coco and Overall were working on was still drying when the crime occurred. That's how the third party could have left those hoof prints.
Not just the hoof prints. There's something else.
Something else?
You claim Coco was knocked out from being hit with a fabric roll, right?
Yeah, she still has glitter stuck on there from that night. That doesn't explain why there are no traces in Overall's mane, though.
Exactly! The only traces of glitter he had were on his forehooves.
Right.
So, what are you suggesting? That this third party hit Coco on the head with a fabric roll and then hit him with something else?
If some pony else was indeed present at the crime scene, I think it's safe to assume that they must have brought their own weapon ahead of time. They could have also used that to hit Overall without leaving anything behind on his head. It's the only scenario that fits.
Okay, but what about Coco? She clearly had glitter left in her mane. Did the third party take the fabric roll from Overall after knocking him out?
I don't think so. In fact, I'm not entirely convinced that Overall was the one who brought the fabric roll up to the catwalk in the first place. Playwright didn't actually see Overall carrying the fabric roll after all. We just assumed that he must have because we thought he and Coco were the only ones to go up there.
Very
Now
true.
it's possible that the third party was running ahead of the two. They might have been the one to bring the fabric roll up to the catwalk instead.
Right! And if
The
they
third
had
party
their
probably
own
stole it,
weapon
and
with
then they
them,
were chasing her.
why would they have
Him.
brought the
I think
fabric
it's stories
roll?
of her.
Well, the only reason I can think of is because it had the fabric they wanted on it. Aha! Of course! Thanks, Twilight.
Mr. Wright, do you have anything to refute Prince Blueblood's theory?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Really? I sincerely doubt that. Enlighten me, human. What will you pull out of that spiky head of yours this time?
A pointy quill that will poke a hole in your theory. You suggested that this whole thing was fabricated by Miss Pommel to make it look like she had been framed. Not only can I prove that to be false, but I can also demonstrate that a third party was behind the whole crime.
Then please explain to the court, Mr. Wright.
We're under the assumption that the hoofprints were made from the paint from the dressing room. While that might be correct, the source of the paint is what I believe changes everything.
And what would this source be?
That would be the fabric roll.
Really?
Where are you going with this?
I'm getting there, Blue Blood. Just bear with me for a moment. Now, when this third party stole the special fabric from the dressing room, it still must have been wet from the paint.
And how do you know that?
Fluorescent paint takes at least 1 hour to dry completely. Overall and Coco started painting the fabric during the play's intermission. This means if we don't take into account the time taken to actually coat the fabric, the earliest that the fabric could have been completely dry is sometime between 9 o'clock and 9:15. Since the crime occurred at 8:50, and there were no other completed versions of the fabric found at the theater, the only remaining possibility is that whomever stole the fabric must have taken the one that had recently been painted, meaning it was still wet when they stole it.
So what? How does this prove anything?
You'll see in a second. No need to rush me. Now, the thief was likely unaware that the fabric was still wet when they stole it. Because of this, they got their hooves covered in paint, causing them to leave the trail of footprints.
Wouldn't they have thought it was wet,
Do you
though?
plan on continuing with this assertion of there being a third party? I've already shown how unlikely it is that they even exist. Why do you insist on prattling on about such an insane theory?
If you let me finish, Prince Blueblood, I'll show you just how sane it is. Now, when this third party stole the fabric, I initially assumed it was a sheet that they collected and placed in a bag that they had on them. However, I'd like to amend this theory.
Amend?
So what's your new theory then, Mr. Wright?
The fabric this third party stole wasn't a completed dry sheet laying on the table. Instead, I'm positive that the fabric was simply laying out to dry, and the third party rolled it up in a nearby fabric roll to collect the whole thing. They were stealthy for the most part, but eventually, either due to the noise they made, or just bad luck, the thief was caught right as they were about to leave. They took the rolled up fabric in their mouth and ran away up to the catwalk, with Coco and Overall in pursuit.
When you have tasted the wet paint, but that might be too late. You're running away.
Both of them were knocked out by this third party as soon as they reached the top of the catwalk. Nice try, but if that were the case, our victim would have some glitter in his mane as well, wouldn't you agree?
I do, actually. But that's not my main point here. The thief could have easily used a different weapon on Overall when they attacked him. It's the weapon that knocked out Coco that will destroy your theory of her fabricating evidence.
The weapon?
As has been well established and demonstrated, Miss Pommel currently has glitter in her mane.
Right.
This suggests that she was struck on the head with the fabric roll. And now that I've shown the possibility that the roll actually had Overall special fabric on it at the time, we have a much
Which
more
means she
likely
should have
scenario
a
for
glowing
how it
mark
got
in her
in
head.
Coco's mane. It came from the fabric that was on the roll.
In what way does this disprove my theory, Defense? Besides, you've not done enough to prove that the fabric roll ever had any of the special fabric on it.
That's next on the agenda, actually. Now, if the fabric was still wet at the time, that would explain how the third party got their hooves covered in paint and left behind a trail of hoof prints. And if that is the case, something else would have also been left behind.
Oh? And what is that, Mr. Wright?
No! It can't be!
If Coco was struck on the head with the fabric roll when the fluorescent paint was still wet, then not only would glitter be left over, but there would also be traces of fluorescent paint on her as well.
What?
Time to bring out the flashlight again.
What does that mean?
It means that not only was the special fabric really on the roll at the time of the crime, but it also means that Coco couldn't have gone outside to hide the fabric or wash her hooves. Because if she did, the glitter and the paint would have both been removed.
Objection! She could have just reapplied it like she did with the glitter.
Objection! Playwright and his employees were standing in the right wing after the murder. Coco couldn't have made it to the dressing room to get more paint to put on herself without being spotted.
That's very true.
Objection! That's assuming that Miss Pommel was struck in the first place. How about you show me that she was actually struck by the roll?
I'll do just that. By using the forensic flashlight again on Coco on the area where the glitter is still on her. Miss Pommel?
I've heard everything, Mr. Wright. Please go ahead and do what you need to do.
Oh, there's the mark.
There it is! Just like Mr. Wright said!
No! No! No, no, no! This cannot be!
As the court can see, this evidence proves that not only could Miss Pommel not have been the one to steal the fabric or kill Mr. Concept, but also that without a doubt, this third party is the true culprit!
Ah!
Order! Order in the court! But Mr. Wright, if this is true, then who is responsible for this murder?
No! No, no, no! This was not supposed to
I
happen.
mean, we'll find out, but I already have my theory who it is.
What is it?
Like I've been saying, Surrey.
Even if this third party somehow exists, you have no idea who it could be. And where in Celestia's name would we even be?
Someone that would have a grudge against Coco.
Any pony.
Then maybe I can make a suggestion.
Oh? What would that be, Miss Sparkle?
Prince Blueblood argued that Coco wanted the fabric to herself to get a better chance to win a fashion competition she's participating in. Correct?
And what of it?
Well, you just asked to narrow down our search of the mystery third party. If we're looking for some pony who'd want a fabric enough to kill for it, why not start with the other contestants of the fashion contest? While we're at it, we should try to find out if any of them have any connection to any pony directly involved in this case.
Who do you think you are, ordering me around like that?
The princess.
I remember you mentioning something earlier, Prince Blueblood.
It's a princess. She
that
can
the
command
contest
you.
Is
not particularly large and has several background checks, those checks would involve taking their prints, right?
You both seem to have forgotten that Coco Pamel is the only pony who could have known that this special fabric even exists.
That may be the case right now, but I would still like the records
And how
of
does
all
Suri
the
learn
hoof
about
prints
it?
and horseshoes of every pony in that fashion contest. If they match with the fluorescent hoof prints left behind, then I say that's all the proof we need to show that there was indeed a third pony at the scene of the
Very
crime.
good.
I agree with Miss Sparkle. I presume this can be done relatively quickly.
It shouldn't take long, Your Honor.
Very well. I shall grant a 30-minute recess to have the police run an analysis to determine if any of the hoof prints of the contestants match the trail left behind at the theater.
I don't believe this. How could I have let this filthy, spiky-headed human get away with this?
Court is adjourned.
There's still another like 10 minutes left. Let's see. We'll probably find this new third party. And that'll probably be the end of the episode.
Whew, that was a little intense, but we pulled through.
A little intense? My heart couldn't take that entire trial. Oh, but I'm so happy you've been able to help Coco.
We're not done yet, though. I may have proven that someone other than Coco could have done it, but she hasn't received the acquittal yet. We've still got a long way to go.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Miss Palmel.
Coco, you don't need to worry about a thing anymore. Phoenix is on his way to kick that prince's sorry flank, and you'll be out scot-free.
Yes, I'm very grateful, Mr. Wright.
So, why the long face, darling?
What the prince said about Overall that he planned to propose to me was that true?
Oh, well, you always said in your letters that he cared a lot about you, so it wouldn't surprise me if he took it to the next level. And, well, I was supposed to keep it a secret, but it wasn't too long ago that he requested me to look for a special gem for you. He said he wanted the gem to match your eyes. So from it, he fashioned a ring.
He said that about me? He actually wanted to propose to me? It's a
Wow.
beautiful ring. I would have happily said yes.
Oh, there, darling. I know this is hard for you, but you must be strong right now. Overall would not want to see you like this. Keep shining bright like that gem.
You're right, Rarity. Overall wouldn't want to see me like this. I have to be strong. For him and for me.
That's the spirit, Coco.
I'm glad you're feeling better, Miss Palmel.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Wright. I wouldn't be here without you.
Actually, while you're here, I'd like to ask you a couple questions.
Oh, of course. Go ahead.
Since we started discussing the events that you were involved with on the night of the murder, have you been able to remember anything else?
Well, yes, actually. It was a bit slow, but I've been regaining my memories as the trial was going on.
Anything at all will help greatly.
I remember that Overall and I had been working on the special fabric in the dressing room during the second act of the play. We had just finished coating on the true rolls of fabric with the fluorescent paint once the second act was nearing its conclusion.
So we were right. The fabric that was stolen was the one you two had been painting.
Yeah, we set it out on the table to dry. After that, I stepped out for a minute to wash my hooves of the glitter and paint.
You left the room?
Yes, but only for a few minutes.
If the thief was nearby, they may have seen Coco leave the room and taken advantage of that opportunity. So, what happened after that?
Well, while I was returning to the dressing room, I saw Overall sprinting out the door. I called out to him, but he didn't answer, so I followed him. I saw him running up the catwalk and I was afraid that he would hurt himself up there because it was so dark. So I quickly turned on the safety lights and continued to follow. On the way up the stairs,
Sorry, I didn't notice
heard
the
a
hoof
loud
prints at that point. You're
noise,
too busy
and I
looking at
ran as
him.
quickly as I could to see what happened, and that's all I
Oh, God.
remember.
Playwright mentioned a playing
Oh, stop.
2, if I recall. That must have been when Overall was struck on the head with that unidentified
I
weapon.
thought I turned this off.
What could it have been? Something metal? What about after you regained consciousness?
Able to
Do you
on my
remember anything
phone.
after that?
I do. After I woke
No
up,
way.
I saw that there was
Jesus.
an empty fabric
I
roll in
turned
my
off my
hooves,
headset
which
on my
were,
phone.
for some reason, completely covered in glitter once again.
The fabric roll was left in your hooves, and
I
glitter
remember.
reappeared.
All you could have waited
You
for the
certainly
phone
washed
ringing.
all of the glitter off of yourself in the first place?
I'm leaving it on here. That's
I'm sure of it,
this
Mr.
is
Wright.
the editor. That's a
I don't
pain
know
to
how
use.
the
I'm not
glitter
gonna
got on my
cut that
hooves
out.
again, and I'm not sure how this empty fabric roll ended up where it did either.
I see. Better make a note of that.
Really wish it wouldn't interrupt the show when that starts ringing.
Is
Today,
there
this is
anything
my
else you can
primary
tell me?
headset.
Not that I know of. Everything else happened exactly as Playwright testified. He stayed with me until he was taken away by the police. As soon as I got to my cell, I shook the glitter off my hooves as best I could.
I see. Well, hopefully what you do remember
I
will
missed
be
something,
useful
but
in
oh
some
well.
way.
I hope so, Mr. Wright.
Now, Twilight, I have a question for you.
What is it, Phoenix?
I'm curious as to why you're so sure that the third pony from the incident was a contestant of this fashion contest. I don't understand how anyone else in the contest would have known about the fabric. And just because they could possibly have a reason to steal the fabric for themselves, it's still not exactly a concrete conclusion, even if it did help us out.
I understand your uncertainty, Phoenix. I'm pretty sure all the contestants would be confident in their own ability to win. However, there is one particular mare that we know that would do whatever it took to win.
Well, who would that be?
Surrey Polo Mare.
Whoa, the mood turned rather quickly there. Surrey Polo Mare.
Polo Mare, that's the part I couldn't remember.
Who is she?
You recall when Rarity bumped into that one mare during yesterday's investigation?
Oh, that pony? I remember now. So, her name is Surrey Polo Mare. What does she have anything to do with the case?
Do you remember what she said back then?
I've no time to waste on you, Rarity. I'm on a tight schedule, so you better stay out of my way. I don't want another
Okay.
victory taken away by your hooves, okay?
Yep, Surrey. She's definitely the killer.
Yeah, she even mentioned Rarity taking away another victory. What did she mean?
I believe I can explain.
Please do, Rarity.
Several months ago, I was involved in a similar fashion contest to the one Coco entered. And Surrey was a contestant as well.
And she stole your.
I
Well,
had my
you
own special
let her borrow
fabric,
your fabric.
and
She stole it.
was enamored by it. So I let her use the fabric for small touches on her own designs. She ended up using my entire fabric and claimed it as her own. Despite that, I managed to beat her.
Yes, you did.
But I didn't know that I won until Coco told me.
What do you mean?
Well, remember when I said I was an assistant of some pony?
Wait, are you saying it was Surrey?
Yes, it was her. In fact, when Surrey got a hold of Rarity's fabric, instead of making the dress herself, she made me do it. It was excruciating. And that part about Rarity not knowing that she won the contest until I told her. Surrey was the one who lied to Rarity and her friends and made me keep quiet about it, too.
Oh, so earlier in the trial... Did you really have so little money that you could barely afford a place to live?
Yes, especially after I quit being an assistant to my mentor. She always made enough for both of us with the designs she sold. Surrey is a great designer, but when it came to whose work she would sell, she almost always chose to sell designs I had made over her own. She didn't even have the courtesy to mention that they weren't hers.
Wow, this pony sounds so selfish.
Oh, yeah.
I know, right? Not giving Saponi proper credit and stealing to boot. She has absolutely no dignity.
But do you think she would actually go as far as murder?
No.
I think so.
I don't think she's that heartless. But if those hoof prints actually belong to her, then it couldn't have been any pony else.
Hopefully the hoofprint analysis will give us the answers we need.
The trial is about to resume. Will the defendant and her attorney please return to the courtroom?
It looks like they've already finished their investigation. Let's hope we don't get any bad news from this.
Hold up, Twilight. There's still one
I
more
might
thing
try
I want to talk to Coco
cutting
about.
out that pause, but I don't know.
What is it?
Problem with that, when I put this
Coco,
video into
you
my
had your
editor,
relationship with Overall from me on
it takes so
purpose,
long for the
didn't
video to
you?
actually play smoothly
I
that
want
it
to
would
know
take
why.
forever to try to actually cut it out. So I'm just gonna.
After working with Suri for so long, I began to believe in her philosophy.
The idea that it's every pony for themselves.
Especially since I got to get this uploaded as soon as possible to have it be
I
up by
encountered
3.
so many ponies like that while working with Suri that eventually I just started to believe it was true. It wasn't until Rarity came along that I realized there were ponies out there who put the well-being of others before themselves.
Yep.
But what does this have to do with why you hate your relationship with Overall?
Even though I now know there are selfless ponies out there, it doesn't change the fact that there are many who do think and act selfishly, and assume the same from others. That's why I thought it would be better if you didn't know the truth about us.
That makes sense.
I was worried that if you did, and realized what it meant, you'd have noticed how strong motive I had to kill him, and wouldn't have taken my case as a result.
I see. You said something similar yesterday, I believe.
Well, you were in the area where he fell. Still, just because you were at the scene of the crime, it doesn't mean you did it.
I know, but everybody who saw me thought I did it.
Rarity doesn't think you did it. She certainly believes you wouldn't have the heart to kill.
Oh, she definitely doesn't have the heart to kill.
Although I appreciate her believing I didn't do it, it's not enough to convince every pony else.
You were frightened by the looks everyone was giving you while you were being arrested. That's why you thought you had to hide the truth from me.
Yeah.
But because of that, Coco, we were put in a very tough spot. I was completely unprepared to argue against Blue Blood's assertions. It was only because of Twilight's quick thinking that we managed to escape a guilty verdict there.
I'm sorry.
If you want me to help you the best I can, I'm going to need you to trust me.
Trust?
Yes, we defense attorneys fight for the innocence of our clients, through our ability to trust completely in that innocence. However, in order to fight as hard as we can, we need our clients to believe in us, and tell us everything they can, so we can make the truth known.
You would have trusted Overall with the whole truth, right, Coco?
Of course.
Then you must do the same for Mr. Right. He and Twilight are both trying their hardest to help you.
Trust in me, Coco, and I promise I will believe in and fight for you until the bitter end.
Okay, Mr. Right. I trust you. From now on, I'll tell you everything I know about the murder.
That you can remember, I guess.
We've got to get going now, Phoenix. We don't want to damage our case by being late.
Right. Let's go then. Hopefully we can put an end to this, here and now.
Ah, there she is. Who's that pony? That would be Stray Polar Bear. Is there anything at the end? I don't think so. So... let's see here. Doesn't look like it. In that case, I'll start the next video. Go away. Okay, anyways. That was a very good episode. I quite enjoyed it. So now we get to see why Suri did it, though there's probably no real reason to know why she did it. She's Suri, so of course she did it. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I will get this video out, like I said, to start as soon as possible. Chances are it won't be up by 3 because it takes over an hour for it to actually process in a video this long. It takes that long for a 40-minute. A 40-minute video, it takes like a long time for it to actually process. So unfortunately, it won't be up by 3, but it will be up today. I'm going to be rendering it right now. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next Ace Attorney's video.